Okay, so this demo is going to go over how to create a quick GIF animation just using some of the basic tools in Photoshop. And this is the first demo of two. So what's going to happen is you're going to go into Photoshop and you want to open up a new file. So we're going to go File, New, and then for our dimensions, we're going to create this as a 6-inch by 6-inch file with 72 resolution, so 72 for pixels per inch. And we're going to leave everything else the same. So it's going to be a 6 by 6 72 file. Once you have that set up, make sure you are in inches, not pixels. You're going to hit OK. At this point, you're going to notice that your canvas, this space over here, is going to be white. And we're going to take a quick look at our background, which is down in our layers. And we're going to notice there's a lock there. Now, if you wanted to get that off, if you needed to, you could double click it and hit OK. And that would turn it off. But for now, we're just going to kind of keep moving on and start our animation. So once you have your background unlocked, if you wanted to do that, we're going to create a couple new layers. So we're going to create one new layer, and you can title these as well. So we can double click where it says layer 1. I'm going to call this ball. And then from there, I'm going to make sure that I have that ball layer highlighted in blue over here. Go over to my toolbar now. Take the second tool down, which is our elliptical marquee. Now, it might default to a rectangular marquee, so you want to switch that then to elliptical. And we're going to go out here, and we're just going to make a sphere. And it's not going to be real large, maybe about that size, maybe about an eighth of the size of the canvas. You can see how big your canvas is, too. The gray is not your canvas. And once you have that sphere made, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here, and we are going to grab our paint bucket tool. Now, the hotkey to get there is G, but there are two options. You're going to have to left click and hold to get your paint bucket. And then at that point, we're going to go down to our color picker down here. And you can see there's white and blue for me right now. I'm going to double click on the blue. It might be black for you. It could be a different color. And I'm just going to change that color to one that I want. So I'm going to change it to red. At that point, I'm going to fill this thing with red. Now, you can see that it's still blinking on the outside. That's fine. That just means that it is it's allowing you to delete it or fill it more. We're going to hit Command D, which is deselect. So hold down Command and hit D. That'll take that blinking line away. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create our paddles, because essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make a pong game. So we're going to create two more layers over in our layers window. I'm going to title these Paddle 1, so Pad 1 and Pad 2, and hit Enter. And then from here, what I'm going to do is make sure I work on each of these layers. So Paddle 1, I'm going to go and I'm actually going to use my rectangular marquee now, which we talked about. It's right with the elliptical marquee, but we're just changing it. And I'm just going to create a small paddle. So on one side, go ahead and change my color and get my paint bucket and fill that. Okay, so you can see down in your layers now, you have your ball layer, you have paddle 1, and then paddle 2 right now has nothing. So there's a couple different ways we could copy that on there. We could hit Command C, which is copy, since this thing is still selected, and Command V it to paddle 2. We could Option click and drag using our move tool. But what we're going to do is we're going to Command D just to deselect. We're actually going to make another one. Okay, so for paddle 2, go ahead and just draw another one over there. Try to get it about the same size. And go ahead and fill it the same color. Make sure you are on that paddle 2 layer. So now I have 3 layers, ball, paddle 1, paddle 2. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and deselect. Right, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start animating this. Now, my window's already open. It's my animation window, but if yours is not, you want to go up to your window option and go down and make sure animation is checked. Okay. Beyond that, you also want to make sure that you have the correct view. So there's a frame view and also a timeline view. So this is the timeline view. You can see where I'm clicking down in the bottom right-hand corner of that animation window. I'm going to switch that back to my frame view. Okay. Now, looking at our frame view, we're going to start animating this. We're going to change some of these settings. So right now it's set to 10 seconds once to show. It means that frame's going to show 10 seconds and only play one time through this animation. We're going to change it so it shows for 0.2 seconds, and we're going to have this thing play for forever. So it's just going to loop. All right, now to start animating, what we want to do is we're going to go up and we're going to get our move tool. Now if this is your first time using move tool, or even if it's not, you do want to make sure your auto select layer is checked and also show transform controls. Okay. From there, what we're going to do is on frame 1, we're just going to basically set it up. And it's already in a position where it's fine. You don't need to move anything. But we're going to duplicate this frame. Now, if you look at your animation window, you have all these options down here. This one right here, which looks similar to new layer, creates a new frame. So we're going to create a new frame. And then on frame 2, we're going to move stuff. So I'm going to move the sphere Make sure you have that bounding box. You don't want to change the size or anything. You just want to move it. And it should, if you guys click on anything, it should actually go to that because we have auto select layer checked for our move tool. So maybe I move the paddle a little bit as well. Okay, new layer. I have the ball hit the paddle. I have the paddle moving. Oops, don't want to twist it. If you do alter the size or try to rotate it on accident, you don't want to do that. Double click it or hit return. And I'm just going to move that down. Okay, so new layer. I will have this pong ball moving. I'm going to have the paddle moving up here. Have it hit. You can kind of see all I'm doing is basically making a new layer and then moving stuff. Okay, so now you could do this with very few frames. You know, the more frames you have, probably the slower. Well, definitely the slower it's going to be, but it also might not necessarily be smooth. If you wanted to make it look like it's going fast, you want to have less frames. So we're going to test this. So I'm going to hit play down in my timeline down here. Okay, and it's just going to give us a quick preview of it. Now, I didn't make mine loop, but you would probably want to get yours to a point where it would actually go back to its original spot and then start going again, or you know, figure out a way for it to just go flawlessly. And like I said, you could have, you know, less frames are going to make it not necessarily smoother, but quicker looking, and then more frames could potentially make it smoother, but it's going to slow it down. So it's really depending on what you want. If you do make a frame down here that you don't want, you can always hit your trash to delete it. Okay. So say we are done with our animation. What we're going to do then is we're going to go up to File, Save for Web and Devices. And this is actually exporting this. You'd still have to save the working file. But right up here, that GIF or GIF optimized format, that's what we want. It should default to that. Then you're going to hit Save. And we're going to send it to our desktop. And then from there, you're going to see it pop up on your screen here. So here it is, pongdemo.gif. And we're going to drag that down to our Safari window. You do want to leave that extension, that .gif. You don't want to change that. When I drop this into Safari, what you're going to see is your actual animation.